Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Fastamai, good evening. Here we are at the end of the week, Friday the 16th of August. Time for your rundown of what's been happening on the Isle of Man today. Coming up in the next half hour, Sir Mark Cavendish has been given quite the homecoming. We'll find out how the Manx Missile was greeted down at the NSC this afternoon. Also tonight, what do we know about the airport director heading for departures? And MGP is fast approaching. So how is that weather looking over the next week? We'll also keep you up to date with anything to watch out for on the roads. If you spot anything when you're out and about, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. First, Christian has the main news headlines for us.
Sir Mark Cavendish has described his homecoming to the Isle of Man today as beautiful. The most successful rider in Tour de France history undertook a lap of honour around the NSC Raceway this afternoon. A Douglas man has been remanded at the Isle of Man prison after being accused of rape. The 43-year-old, who can't be named for legal reasons, has been charged with 3 offences allegedly committed over a 3-day period between the 27th and 30th of July. And Peel Commissioners hope some residents may be able to stay in their homes in the Riat Eilean estate. Valuations are still being carried out though. Previously, the local authority agreed to demolish the houses and rebuild them after it was discovered substandard building materials had been used by the original developer. In international news, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy says he's hopeful of a peace deal between Israel and Hamas during a visit to Jerusalem. The US, Qatar and Egypt are currently mediating talks for a ceasefire, where they say points of an agreement have been reached. Failures to follow allergy protocols have been found by a coroner to have contributed to the death of a 13-year-old girl in East London. 13-year-old Hannah Jacobs died after drinking hot chocolate from Costa Coffee, despite being severely lactose intolerant. And the new Premier League season kicks off tonight with Manchester United taking on Fulham at Old Trafford. Tomorrow, Arsenal host Wolves and West Ham welcome Aston Villa. Those are the update news headlines next at 6.
Thanks very much, Christian. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. So dry and largely cloudy this evening and overnight, and moderate to fresh, mainly southwest wind. Minimum temperatures will be around 11 Celsius. Tomorrow, dry, variable and at times large amounts of cloud. Moderate to fresh, mainly southwest winds. Maximum temperatures tomorrow of 18. And then on Sunday, the first MGP qualifying session, it will be mainly dry with bright or sunny intervals. Moderate to fresh west or southwest winds and top temperatures on Sunday of around 19. Sunset this evening will be at 8:45. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
Manx Glass and Glazing don't just do the big jobs. It's easy to repair broken greenhouse glass at Manx Glass and Glazing. For greenhouse glass cut to size, call 674 573.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
One architectural design company has particular expertise in achieving planning approval for a wide variety of projects, from landmark buildings to spectacular homes. Talk to the experts at Ellis Brown and get your project off the ground. For excellence in design, search Ellis Brown.
Your business can grow its market share 4 times faster. Be heard by over 43,000 island adults over 13 weeks. Call us on 682 600. Manx Radio is proud to support Manx businesses and communities.
Firestone Rubber Roof Shop for one-piece flat roofing systems. No joins, no leaks. We also line commercial box gutters in one piece up to 60 metres with a 20-year written warranty against leakage. Call Rubber Roof Shop on 49667.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
And it's 4.5 past 5. Some really lovely news to start with tonight. Sir Mark Cavendish has described his homecoming to the Isle of Man today as beautiful. The most successful rider in Tour de France history undertook a lap of honour around the NSC Raceway this afternoon, and it was the track where he started cycling as a child. This was followed by an invitation to children from the island to ride alongside him, something he told our sports editor Rob Pritchard was really important.
It's beautiful to see so many people out was very, very nice, but the best thing was seeing the amount of kids on the bikes. I know every Tuesday dot longer than before I was riding a bike, was down here with hundreds of kids every week. And to feel that, to see it still going like that, and to see the kids loving riding their bikes, ultimately that's why I do it. To get people on bikes, to get people enjoying riding a bike, to get them to feel what I feel about being on a bike, and to see that joy is evident, is something very, very special.
And just off that as well, the fact that you did make that gesture to allow children to join you as well on the raceway where you started out your career as well, how important was that gesture to you?
Yeah, sure, it wasn't to allow kids, I actively wanted them. Like, that's what this place is about. Okay, we can train here. We're incredibly lucky on the island to have a national sports centre. For such a small population, have this complex and things for sport across like all ages, all categories. It's pretty special, and I started here. All bike riders started here, and it's where the future champions are going to start. It's ultimately what I want. It's not for one person riding around on their own, it's for kids coming down and enjoying riding.
Your career takes you all over the world to all manner of places, but how nice is it every so often to hear about the sport you continue to get from here, and particularly maybe from a generation who may not have seen you racing from your early years?
Oh, it's really nice, but what's more important is this home. You know, we're a little community here, and it's always nice to come back. It's always nice to be wherever we are in the world. You know, you see a Manx flag as well, and a little hay boy coming from the side of a mountain, and they always make you smile and remind you of where you're from.
That is Sir Mark Cavendish talking to Rob there this afternoon. Head over to the Manx Radio Facebook page. There's some lovely videos on there. We'll be hearing more about Sir Mark Cavendish's lap a little bit later on in the programme. It's coming up to 5:07. So, it's understood that the Isle of Man Airport Director is going to leave his position later this year. Now, Gary Cobb was actually only appointed to the role in 2022. Our news editor, Tessa Hawley, is with me now. So, Tessa, what do we know about Gary Cobb's reasons for leaving?
Well, at this stage, very little. A story broke last night when another media outlet effectively leaked an email that they said had been sent to staff at the airport. Now, Manx Radio hasn't seen that email, so we can't verify the contents of it, but it seemed to suggest that Mr. Cobb had told staff he'd handed in his notice this week. Apparently, he's had an opportunity come up that he couldn't refuse.
So what's government saying about it?
Rather infuriatingly, nothing. We asked for confirmation that Gary Cobb had indeed handed his notice in and sent that email. And almost 24 hours later, we are still waiting for official comment. The government communications team said they would provide us with something on the record. And despite asking and asking again, we're still yet to receive anything. We also invited Mr. Cobb to appear on Manx Radio Breakfast this morning, and that sadly was a no.
So, Gary Cobb's appointment was announced, I think it was May 2022. He started in August of 2022. So, do we have any idea at all where he's going or what's going to happen next?
That's right. So Mr. Cobb came to the island from Scotland. He was based in Inverness as the Chief Operating Officer with Highlands and Islands Airports Limited. Prior to that, he was Head of Airfield Planning at Gatwick Airport. At the time of his appointment, the DOI had said recruiting to the role was a challenging process and there was a number of high-quality candidates who'd put themselves forward. In fact, the then interim Chief Executive said she looked forward to Mr. Cobb playing an influential role in the future of the airport. But in the leaked email, Gary Cobb is reported as saying his new opportunity came up sooner than he would have liked and says he will be in the post for the next few months to ensure everything transitions smoothly.
So what have the public been making of this development then?
Well, as you can imagine, there has been lots of comments about this, particularly on social media, which is why you would think and why we had hoped that government would want to offer some clarity to the situation. On our Facebook page, there's been praise for the assistance he's provided with things like patient transfer. Carol's described him as doing perhaps an impossible job. Paul's questioned why another civil servant is leaving the island. Tony says Mr. Cobb inherited an airport which was a huge mess, and after 2 years it's still a huge mess. And Russell has commented, at least something is departing.
Tessa, thank you very much indeed. You never know, we might get that official statement before the end of update. So if we do, Tessa, race right back here and tell us the details.
I will be back.
Coming up to 5:10. A financial crime investigator has been fined £1,500 after sending police intelligence to her family members over WhatsApp. Siobhan Fletcher reports.
Sharon Judith Gardner of Queen's Terrace in Douglas sent an image over the messaging platform on or about the 10th of May last year. She was caught after police seized a mobile phone as part of an unrelated matter. When they extracted the data on it, they found a group chat which included Gardner. It also contained her husband, who's a retired police officer, and her 2 children. The 55-year-old had previously pleaded guilty to unlawfully obtaining personal data and is currently suspended from her civilian role within the Isle of Man Constabulary. The court heard she'd sent an image showing her computer screen at work, which was displaying 26 intelligence reports from the Constabulary's Connect database. Personal data was clearly visible. The subsequent message thread saw Gardner state her home address would be on there next, acknowledging she knew she could get in trouble for sending it, and discussion about a Class C drug. The prosecutor told the court the intelligence reports pictured were of a sensitive and restricted nature, and Gardner was not allowed to disclose the information. During sentencing at Douglas Courthouse, Gardner's advocate said the incident was a foolish episode, adding after she'd sent the image it was forgotten about and no harm had come, with her continuing in her role without incident for several months until the chat was discovered by police. He said this was a true one-off incident. She's an extremely well thought of individual, but this may derail her professional career altogether. The advocate added that her arrest at her workplace caused a great deal of upset and embarrassment. Fining her and ordering her to pay prosecution costs, magistrates told Gardner the files were not for your own personal amusement, but admitted this was an isolated incident done on a whim. Manx Radio has invited the Isle of Man Constabulary to comment.
Siobhan, thank you. Coming up to 5:12. Business Now with Ramsey Crookall, and there's going to be another new addition to Peel, and it's opening this weekend. The new Jack stores will open its doors to customers tomorrow at 9 a.m. They've told us that as a family-run Manx business, they are incredibly proud to be opening their 5th store, especially, they say, in the current climate where businesses are facing more challenges than ever. MD Chris Blatcher says we can't thank our customers enough for their consistent support and hope our new location improves our ability to provide the island with a convenient and competitive local shopping experience. Well, Ramsey Crookall also provide us with a stock market report, and they tell us that today UK stocks drifted lower while the pound strengthened against other major currencies. European stocks were broadly higher, rising for a 4th straight session as strong US retail sales data and low weekly jobless claims figures soothed fears of an impending recession in the world's largest economy. Oil prices fell sharply, though, after the on and off truce talks reconvened in Qatar's capital yesterday without Hamas. Gold prices rose, though, and were on track for a weekly gain amid optimism that the Fed will ease the interest rate by at least 25 points in September. And the British fintech firm Revolut reached a valuation of $45 billion after a secondary share sale involving new and existing investors. The commodities then, gold up 1.23% at $2,485. Brent is off 1.29% at $79.83. At the close, the FTSE 100 was off 0.43% at 8,311. And a short time ago, the Dow Jones was up 0.01% at 40,563. And the latest from the Nasdaq, it was off 0.21% at 17,556.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
3:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, first of all, if you're heading to the airport or the steam packet this evening, all is looking pretty much okay there. Traffic-wise, we've got an update on what's been happening on the Ramsey Road in Laxey. So there's been this work on the new surface water drainage system. The current closure is going to be lifted at the end of the working day today, and that is for the entirety of Manx Grand Prix. Work will resume, though, beyond the junction to the north of Minorca Crossroads straight after the last race day. So that's Monday, the 26th of August. This pause in work is to deal with the general increase in traffic that's expected, obviously, when the MGP is on and the mountain road is closed. The DOI is thanking residents of Ballarat for their patience while these essential works, they say, are moved through the entrance to their road. And speaking of MGP, remember it does get underway at the weekend. Roads will close on Sunday afternoon from 12:45pm until no later than 6pm for the first qualifying session. You can find all the road closure details throughout the event at manxradio.com.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
Quayside. It's just gone 5:15. We're going to stay with MGP because, as we know, there are now less than 48 hours until the first qualifying session. Ronaldsway Met Office is warning that the weather throughout the event could be tricky. So settled conditions are expected over the weekend, as we heard, but things are set to change next week when we actually could see the tail end of a former hurricane hit the island. The senior meteorologist Kirsty Pendlebury has been talking to Ben Hartley.
Looking nice through the weekend, but as we head into Monday, certainly looking like we're going to see a weather system moving through then. Tuesday looked a little bit better, but now it looks like there might just be a band of rain and some showers first thing in the morning on Tuesday. So it will just depend how quickly those showers sort of die away. And I'm not going to lie, there's a potential ex-hurricane on the way towards the middle to the end of next week, but there's still a lot of uncertainty in the track of that. So it's certainly very much one to watch. But yeah, I think it could be a tricky week.
Oh, heck. So this is the sort of back end of a hurricane, is it, with windy conditions approaching?
Yeah, so there's, I'm not sure if it's quite hurricane strength at the moment or if it's storm force, but it's Storm Ernesto or Hurricane Ernesto, and gradually it's going to get sort of wrapped up into Newfoundland and eventually sort of make its transition across the Atlantic. And there's 3 different scenarios at the moment of what the outcome could be, whether we see low pressure to the north of the British Isles, which will obviously bring wet and windy conditions for the middle to the end of the week, and that's the most likely scenario at the moment. And there's a couple of other scenarios which are much nicer and the low pressure goes to the north. So it's all still to play for at the moment. These things are quite tricky when they transition from hurricanes to tropical systems. So it's still very much all to play for this far in advance.
That is Kirsty Pendlebury from the Met Office. So we're keeping every single thing crossed. It can change. I mean, it's beautiful out there at the moment. We'll just see what happens. 17 and a half minutes past 5. Well, tonight sees the curtain raiser ahead of the new Manx football season as defending men's Premier League champions Ayr United face 2024 FA Cup winners Russian United at the Bowl later. Ayr United player-manager Nick Hurt and Russian United head coach Andrew Moody have given their thoughts ahead of the game and how their respective pre-seasons have gone so far.
Pre-season's probably been the worst pre-season we've had. Key players being away on holidays, sort of injuries, believe it or not. We've played a few games. We've played Peel, played Russian away, and we played Kurt Michael on Tuesday night. We've come through it okay. Tuesday night against Kurt Michael, the first game that the likes of Sean Kelly and Jay Callister have played. New signing Lewis Moran as well. Another signing Leo Tregurtha from Russian. They've only had sort of 45 minutes together. It's a tough fixture against Russian. We've had a good few battles with them in the last 3 seasons. Last season in the FA Cup final that went to extra time and penalties, Russian came out winners. So the game's going to be tough. From our point of view, we will approach it in the right manner. We've got pretty much everybody available apart from Johnny Shields, who unfortunately got a broken rib in the friendly against Peel, so he's going to be out for at least maybe 4 to 6 weeks.
Joined now by Russian United first team manager Andrew Moody. How have things been in terms of the preparations so far?
We've had a good scutch of young lads coming through from the juniors into senior football for the first time. We've had really good numbers at training. Most training sessions have had 30 plus, which has been brilliant. It's looking good. The lads are sharp, they're fit, they're still going through their journey of pre-season, working hard, getting the vital minutes in for friendlies and whatnot. The first target, obviously, is getting through the final and trying to do something that we're probably up against, being underdogs against a very good Ayr team. We're looking forward to that. But Charity Shield, it's always good to try and get the season underway quick. But the first aim is Railway Cup qualification. From there, minimum expectation, as far as I'm concerned, is trying to challenge for top 4. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but we know we've got the players that have come through from the youth and also some new signings that have given us a little bit different style of play. We're looking forward to getting going from that side.
That is Rushden United head coach Andrew Moody. Before that, Ayr United player manager Nick Hurt. And tonight's game will kick off at 7:45. Should the teams be level after 90 minutes, the tie will go straight to a penalty shootout. I sounded like I knew what I was talking about there, Rob Pritchard. You're here with the rest of today's sport.
Indeed. We'll start with motorsport first, and the top 20 seeded riders for this year's lightweight race at the Manx Grand Prix have been announced. Joey Thompson is set to lead the way at number 1 on the 74 Racing Yamaha TZ250, a machine which forms the majority of the first 20 riders in the class. In behind Thompson are Laycock Racing duo Ian Locker and Mike Brown. Brown and Locker have taken first and second respectively in the class in both 2022 and 2023. Elsewhere, 2 potential frontrunners in James Hind and Michael Dunlop will set off at numbers 5 and 6 respectively. There's a Manx trio at numbers 9, 10 and 11 in 2023 senior MGP winner Joe Yeardsley and 2 of the island's top TT competitors Michael Evans and Nathan Harrison. The returning Lee Johnston is also in the top 20 on the Reed Racing Honda RS250 at number 13. Well, along with the 2-stroke machinery, the category now sees 4-stroke 400cc Supersport and Moto 3 bikes also eligible to take part. The 3-lap lightweight MGP race is currently scheduled for 1:30pm on Friday, the 23rd of August, and you can view the lightweight MGP Top 20 in full at manxradio.com. Elsewhere in cycling, it's been another strong day for the teams of Manx Pro riders Lizzie Holden and Becky Storey on the latest day of the 2024 Tour de France Femme. Stage 6 this afternoon saw competitors take on a 160km route from Remiremont to Morteau. Holden and UAE team ADQ only just missed out on a podium as Holden's teammate Carlin Svinkels produced another positive display to cross the line in 4th. Elsewhere, Storey's fellow Team DSM Firmenich Post-Nl racer Juliette Labou produced another solid ride in 10th. While a potentially gruelling mountain stage awaits Holden, Storey and the rest of the field tomorrow for stage 7. It'll include a 167km stretch from Champagnol to Langrand-Bonnard. And in athletics, both Corinne Leeming and Kirsty Barber dominated during last night's Foxtel 5 race on the no rest for the Wicked Series. Leeming smashed his own course record to win by nearly 3 minutes in 25 minutes and 22 seconds. And elsewhere, Barber finished just outside Becky Pate's women's record in 32 minutes and 25 seconds. Well, elsewhere, having lost a 9-goal thriller on Tuesday night, FC Isle of Man's manager will be hoping for a much better performance from his side when they travel to Litherland Remacher in the NWCFL Premier Division on Saturday afternoon. Well, Paul Jones didn't hold back on his criticism of some areas of his side's performance in the 5-4 defeat against FC St Helens, but insists he's seeing some good things which could help them towards getting a result this weekend.
I think in many ways we're playing some of the best football in possession that we have. Well, I think we definitely have since I became manager. So there's lots of positives. I think that the thing that shocked me on Tuesday night was how porous we were through the centre of the pitch when we spent so much time working on not being porous in the centre of the pitch. And that's what kind of shocked me a little bit. It's small margins and I was angry. We were all angry and upset. I think sometimes it's good for people to see that as well in a club-facing media interview. But, shouting and screaming doesn't get you anywhere. It just makes you feel better. It doesn't actually solve any problems. So we know what went wrong on Tuesday night. And it's not really tweaking, it's just going back to what we know we should be doing, and then hopefully there's a good performance again on Saturday against Litherland.
When we've spoken a couple of times about Litherland in the past, you've described them a little bit as like one of the toughest teams that you've come up against. What makes them difficult opposition to overcome?
Litherland tend to have quite a lot of rotations. They're a clever team. They've got experienced players at the back who use that experience fantastically well, and you maybe on first sight you think, we should be able to get at them, but they use their bodies really well. They're in really good shape and positions, and their attacking players are clever. They always give us a really tough game, and the last season or two they haven't really stepped up their levels against some of the other teams in our league that we would expect them to do well against. So hopefully we get the Litherland that some of the other teams faced last season and not the Litherland that we faced this last season. On Saturday they've had quite a lot of change at the club, I believe, this year, and have struggled a little bit at the start of the season, so we need to make sure that we're expecting a very difficult game but making sure their season kind of doesn't get any better and make sure ours gets a bit of a nudge in the right direction.
That is FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones. So that Litherland versus FC Isle of Man match kicks off at Litherland Sports Park at 3 p.m. tomorrow. If you're heading over, the weather looks pretty good, and it's always lovely to see how many of the Manx fans do go over and support the players. And as Paul Jones has said to us previously, that is very much appreciated by the whole team. So if you are going, have a great time. We're going to go back to one of the main things that's been happening today, and that was the Sir Mark Cavendish lap around the NSC. Do check out the videos on the Manx Radio Facebook page. See if you can spot your child if they were one of the ones who was cycling next to him. Well, the Isle of Man's Lieutenant Governor has described Sir Mark Cavendish as a legend. Sir John Lorimer was one of those in attendance during the Manx Missile's homecoming event, which was, as we say, at the NSC this afternoon. And he told us that the cyclist was a fantastic ambassador for the Isle of Man.
He is a legend, isn't he? He's a most accomplished, brilliant athlete and cyclist, but also he's a fantastic ambassador for the island. He's so proud of his heritage and his island, and I think we should be incredibly proud of him. He's incredibly proud of the island, but I know that we're incredibly proud of him.
And not just his achievements, but the legacy that he's leaving behind as well. We're seeing, possibly from his success, we're seeing so many other cyclists coming from the Isle of Man. You know, we've got people in the world scene as well that have followed in his footsteps. Many more may follow as well. So how good is Sir Mark's lasting legacy for the Isle of Man?
I think it's huge. I think what he has done for so many generations. So it's not just the ones that grew up with him, but also all the youngsters as well. You have to look around today and see how many people are here to support him and to welcome him back. But all the kids are inspired by what he's achieved.
That is the Isle of Man's Lieutenant Governor, Sir John Lorimer, talking about Sir Mark Cavendish down at the NSC this afternoon. I was a little bit disappointed that Rob Pritchard wasn't actually on a bike. We talked about it this week. I thought he was going to come good, but never mind. But what a great event. As I say, lots of photographs and videos if you head over to the Manx Radio Facebook page. And something else you can find out about on the Facebook page is the Manx cadets who are taking part in an initiative which is being led by Isle of Man Maritime. 12 teenagers who are aged between 14 and 17 are currently on board the Tall Ship Leader. You might have seen these tall ships in Douglas Bay. It's 21 metres long, 6 metres wide, and it was built in 1892. And if you want to find out more about what they're doing and trying to find out whether maybe a career in maritime is something that they would be interested in, you can head over to the Manx Radio website or also go to Facebook. There is a lovely video which Siobhan has put on there because she was talking to the General Manager of Isle of Man Maritime, Captain Lee Clark, just talking about that Tall Ships Initiative. So those children in for a lovely time at the moment. As I say, look out over the sea at the moment. It looks pretty good. Well, that is all from Update this evening and indeed for this week. Remember that these programmes are available to download as a podcast. So if you miss your news and you just need to catch up on the go, you can head over to manxradio.com or wherever you download your podcast from. Coming up in the next few minutes, it's the Friday Sport Preview with Rob. Then Chris Kinley's here with Greatest Hits. It's then Sweet and Swing with Howard Kane. And then Nick Holt has the perfect start to your weekend with the 90s playlist. And as ever, we really do want to hear from you if there's a news story happening in your area. Newsroom@manxradio.com is the best email address. Lewis is looking after Update next week, so whatever you're up to, have a great weekend and I'll talk to you again soon.